All right, let's bring Tsietsi into the conversation now. Tsietsi, in terms of rainfall, and everybody's been talking about this. I mean, although we did see some great rains falling in the Western Cape, I think it was yesterday. But I mean, yesterday here in Gauteng, you see the clouds banging, you see the thunder, the lightning, then there's a couple of drops of rain, and that's the end of that. What does rainfall look like around the country? I mean, when can we expect some relief from all of this?
Yeah, well, Leanne, unfortunately, we can't really expect some relief anytime soon. The rainfall is basically scarce, and as the minister said, we are a water scarce country, and we know about our rainfall pattern here. The west is usually dry, and in the east, that's where we get most of our rainfall, such as KwaZulu-Natal and the Eastern Cape. But yeah, over the last couple of years, we've been seeing the rains coming in much later and also coming in much lesser quantities as we've seen before. And if you look at since 1960, we've had about 8 dry spells wherein we had rainfall falling about to 80% below average, below the normal. I mean, 80 is quite a lot, below normal. So now we're having a similar situation like that. This year, again, just I don't know if you'll remember, around 1996 and 1997, we had one of the most severe El Nino effects. And it looks like the conditions are set out looking like we're having another one this year, which is what's leading to the dry conditions and heavy rainfall the rainfall that is absolutely not coming. On Saturday here in Johannesburg, it actually rained for about 4 seconds. Can you believe it? That's basically nothing. Yeah, so the rainfall is staying away, and the fact that it's been getting hotter and hotter, the heat waves that we went through, that leading to a lot of things such as evaporation. And if you have evaporation on a soil that's already so water scarce or so water limited, meaning the underground water tables are getting lower and lower, the dam levels are getting lower and lower as well, so it's getting drier and drier, and we are becoming mostly a desert.
I mean, Minister, please feel free. We must have this conversation going. We've got our experts sitting in the corner there. But I mean, March, are these the predictions of when we can expect this a good rainfall, or is it perhaps even further than that? I mean, let's sort of get your opinion, and then the minister, obviously, who's been looking at this.
If you remember at the beginning, what we do here, usually at the beginning of each seasonal period, we do a seasonal forecast. And Azu was one of the first one that did that forecast, and he indicated that we're going to get hotter temperatures and less rainfall. So it's going to get much drier. And we expect, March for rain to only be coming then. We are already going into another sort of seasonal transition. And what does that mean is, does the winter get shifted later as well? Meaning next time again, come September and come October, we'll have less rainfall again. So the cycle is changing quite a lot, and which is what we've been preaching quite a lot here about climate change and how the rainfall patterns, the rainfall cycles are changing all over the world. It's not just within South Africa, it's happening all over the world. And yes, for us, we should have had a lot of thunderstorms by now, but absolutely nothing. So the forecasts are looking quite gloomy. We are not getting any much rain over the next couple of days. Sure. In fact, over the next couple of months, so it's going to be quite difficult. We all need to start doing the rain dance.
I know. I mean, Minister, let's not kid. I know I was reading in the Sowetan newspaper this morning. I mean, you're actually, it's gotten to the point of calling on Sangomas to intervene and pray.
Everybody says, what can we do? And I'm saying, wherever you are, be part of finding a solution. There are traditional ways where people believe they can change the situation. There are scientists who are saying this is how things can be done. There are those who are saying through prayer this can be done. But there are those that will also believe that it is only through partnership. And I'm saying it is that partnership that we really need. And you need a revolution in South Africa, a social movement that will unite us. I think what we saw with the hashtag Fees Must Fall, you saw a non-racial group of crowd of young people, all of them speaking in one voice, mobilizing society. Water is life. It can actually become our source of mobilizing and building national identity. What we must guard against is to politicize it now that we're going to local government, is to assume that we can blame anybody. What we must all say is to say hashtag rain must fall. But now that we know that there's no projection of rain in the earliest convenience, we need to change our behavior. I have just said to you offline, Gautengers have got water supplied through the Vaal River system, but our households are culprits in terms of excessive water use. Two, we've got industry that has to actually work differently. The mining sector and the manufacturing sector have to do things differently. We've now waged a war on leaks with a project that is taking 15,000 young people. Already 3,100 are into training. That must go and deal with water leaks, because that is also what is eating the little resource that we have. But we also need to, through the Department of Higher Education and Training, build capacity of the state and South Africa to have people who are doing engineering, hydrologists, project management, and so forth. So this is a multidisciplinary issue. We need to work together with the Department of Health so that then all the hygienic issues are also attended to. Yeah. Because remember, with water shortages, there's also a possibility of waterborne disease. How do we work together? So hence I'm saying we need hip hop, we need Kwaito, we need Casper to fill the dome and come and talk and sing
Casper
about.
To fill our rivers, never mind fill the dome at this point.
So that's what I'm saying. But the last thing that I think we must appreciate is that water has no substitute. With energy, you can find various other alternatives.
Absolutely.
So we must treat this as something that South Africa, we are far behind compared to other nations that are water scarce.
Water shedding. Are we heading in this direction? I mean, I know that you're talking KwaZulu-Natal. I remember going there for a holiday we were staying, and I mean, twice a day the water was cut off. People were filling their baths, they're filling their buckets, they're keeping water because they know the water is going to be cut. Is this going to be our reality nationwide, water shedding?
Demand management has to be a norm. And it can be through the application of restrictions. It can be through the application of introduction of new designs of your toilets and everything. It can be through the recycling of water. And to be upfront, restrictions and enforcement is the way to go, so that we change the way we handle this scarce resource. There must be a penalty for a household, there must be a penalty for a municipality, there must be consequences in the industry. The issuing of water licenses can't just be like you buying a prepaid.
No.
It must be something that has got serious conditions, but the Department of Water and the Department of Environment and the Department of Minerals Resources must then have the ability to look at how the mines are managing our water, so that we don't have this liability that we've now inherited of the acid mine drainage in Gauteng.
Yeah. You talk about demand management. I mean, what do you envision would happen? Do you think that each household or each business is given a quota of litres that you're able to use a day, and if you go over that, your water supply gets cut or you get penalised in a monetary position? How would it work?
There's a constitutional obligation that we have in terms of provision. And part of the innovative solutions that we are looking at is the production of what we call water banks, and drop a block into your system to reduce the volume. And those things are actually going to make sure that we reclaim the water back into the system and redistribute. Because, Leanne, as we deal with availability of water for me and you in Gauteng, there are millions of South Africans who are still unsaved. So we must claim back that is not being properly utilized. So these are the things that we are really going to be looking at, and hence having to build capacity and new ideas and new solutions, so that then we don't only rely on how we used to deal with issues. We will soon, through cabinet, be announcing the blue drop and the green drop in terms of how municipalities are managing our water. And for me, it must not just be a ceremony. It must be about naming and shaming, but it must also about how best we can all look after this scarce resource that we have. Remember one thing that we used to pride ourselves as South Africa, and that we must continue to pride ourselves with. We are one of those few countries where you can just go into your tap and drink water.
Yeah, yeah.
But what we must never allow is the cost of cleaning that water because of poor maintenance. So hence some of the things that we have to deal with, both in the agricultural sector in terms of the pesticides and chemicals, as well as in the management of our sewer network.
Yeah.
Sewer networks.
Indeed. I mean, I'm just reading some of the comments coming from people here on Twitter, and a lot of people also concerned of the quality of our water, Minister, and the cleanliness of our water, and that's it's a big concern of South Africans.
One of the things that we need to take on board is that for now, even as we deal with the spillages, we put a lot of effort in cleaning that water, which then contributes towards the cost of water to the end user. And hence, what we have now done to cite a municipality and say, you can't put a system such as the Vaal River to risk. We are now going into the Olifants River as well to say, those who are actually messing up with the Olifants system there must be consequences. We can't be nice with one another on this precious resource. But even with us communities, don't throw everything into your sewer system, because it then goes back and contaminates. Those who live along the river banks, that's why we have the Working for Water, Adopt a River, and we're working with women and youth organizations, the NYDA, and so forth, in making sure that we create jobs. In the scheme of doing all this and the drought, let's refurbish our infrastructure and create jobs so that then when the rain season comes, we can be in a position to look at different solutions. I will say yes.
Yeah.
For now, where water gets contaminated is where municipalities have not been able to deal with that. You remember we had to take the municipal manager of Bloemhof to task when he just decided to throw chlorine on back-to-back contamination of water, and babies died in the northwest. We had to deal with it. Now, watch the space with what we are doing with the city of Mfuleni. They can't actually become a spoiler in what we want to deal with. And I'm happy that the MEC for Kokta in Gauteng is on board. Gauteng has now set up a water forum, and they are also dealing with these things. There's a lot of training that is also being undertaken.
Minister, there's so much more to talk about, just especially what I'm seeing on Twitter, but we cannot continue. I'm going to read one or two as we go into a break. This is from Leonie saying, it's raining so nicely in PE. Thank you, Lord, for the rain. Linda Martinez saying, why does Joburg Water take the entire day to fix a burst pipe? Please address that. I saw that happening this weekend. It's a big issue. And then someone else recommending, why not just slow down water supply to the suburbs so they don't use so much? Oy, oy, oy.
That's my fan.
That's another one. Do you drink our tap water, Minister?
Yes, I drink tap
children
water.
Drink our tap?
We drink tap water, yep.
So that's
from the Vaal River system that is being messed up by the Mfuleni municipality.
All right. Minister, thank you for talking to us here on the program.
You're welcome.
A big issue, a very big issue here on the program. Nomvula Mokonyane, the Minister of Water and Sanitation, talking to us about these water restrictions and the problems associated. Let's take a break.